It's time for the Daily Detangler. Hello and good morning. I wanted to talk about learning in the present and learning the present. The synthesis here is on the learning by doing work, the discussions that we've been having about keeping the team on track and on the road, and then also an exchange that I had with Catalyst last night with regard to the kind of the focus and the tone of detanglers, right? While it's good to lead with me, um, that's the key here that I'm discovering is really more about how does it help the team, right? It's not the detanglers. How do I make them even more actionable and more impactful based on what we're all experiencing, not just what's going on in my own head? So I wanted to focus the detangler on that concept of what does it look to be in the present, and then learn from that and publish a little bit about what might happen there. I've had this quote for a while, and it's something that really helps me, and I think it's somewhat related to the quotes that Catalyst uses, but it definitely brings something to mind with my own gaps. So if you want something you've never had, you've got to do something you've never done. This is a pretty Zen statement, but I've reflected on this and really tried to identify what have I never had, and what do I need to do? And that's a uniquely personal thing, right? And then it's also very revealing. And I won't publish all that, but it was good exercise, and it's a good reminder to understand that we're innovating something new. In theory, the idea of go to customer at scale is something that's never been done. Right? It works. And actually, you know what? I won't declare that. That's up for Catalyst to decide if it's ever been done. I'm sure he's got stories of it being done. But from my perspective, our end state vision hasn't been realized. Um, and I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying if we're going to get there and achieve the end state vision of go to customer, and having go to customer become the new normal, or the new strategy, the new theory of management, this idea of orchestration, that's never been done. So to do something to get there, I've got to lean into doing something I've never done before. And that's great. And it has to do with this idea of where we're heading, right? Take a look at this picture. If I had to ask you right now, is this a picture about the vision of where we're going? Look more closely. Broaden your perspective. This is a rear view mirror. This is where the car has been, not where the car is going. And I think this is a perfect tangle for me. In many ways, I've leaned into what I've always done and believe that it's going to get me there. And this picture with my muscle memory, first time I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's vision. I've seen a lot of pictures of the road and where we're going, but it's actually the rearview mirror. And that's a perfect feeling for what I experience with this idea of how do I learn, and how do I learn by doing, right? And figure things out with the team in a way that's never been done before. And I can't lean into the rearview mirror. I have to flip this. I have to flip it and focus on where we're going. not relying on the past. So the journey to getting there, there's some pretty big questions that we're wrestling with, like what is an experience? Or, in my role, what's my economic value? Or as a team, how do we help people see? Uh, in the context of our evolution, of our impact, how do we expand the influence and impact of prototyping and help others see, so we get beyond prototyping? And then me personally, great question that Catalyst asked yesterday is, why are we so focused on the how? And then do I even understand the difference between the how and the why? Right? So these are examples of, what I've experienced in the past versus what I'm experiencing right now, experiencing right now. And the right now is different. And because the right now is different, in many ways, the right now is completely new. And why am I relying on the past experience to get me there? And I don't know if you've heard this quote before, but Mark Twain said once, "It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so." You heard that quote before, right? Kind of, did I get you there? Right? It's a quote we use a lot. So what does this mean? And to me, it means not only letting go of the past. It's way more than that. It's this picture. It's this idea that even when I come back to this picture and look at it now, my muscle memory says this is a vision. This is a forward lean that we're heading towards the hills to ride off into the sunset. But it's a damn rear view mirror. It's the past. It's not, even though I know that, I come back and I have to convince myself that it's a rear view mirror. What is that? What is that? I know. I know it's a rear view mirror. I literally know that. But when I come back and look at this, I have to convince myself it's a rear view mirror. My muscle memory tells me it's a vision. And what is that? It's this idea that the past doesn't equal the present. If I focus on the past, right, I get tangled. I get into my routine. I get in the habit. I lean on best practices. I lean into my comfort zone. And the more I am aware of this and the more I explore this idea of tangles, the more I realize that tangles are rooted in the past, and tangles are trying to reconcile. They come from trying to reconcile the present, right? If I just was in the present and I was able to, you know, be born and come straight into the present, I wouldn't have to detangle myself, would I? But the detangling has to do with my present and past self reconciling my brain. So and I used to think it was about, well, strategy and tactics. It's about what I've known and where we're going. So I just have to embrace the vision. But in doing that, in understanding where I've been and then embracing the vision, I skip the now. And I skip the now and I can't act now. So what is acting now? Acting now is engaging in the present, the present, the present, the present, the now, the right now, the today. How much time have I spent figuring out how to adapt in the now? It's a really shockingly low number that makes me a little bit queasy right now thinking about it. I've spent so much time on my past. Oh my gosh. And I just live in the past. And then I've spent so much time trying to understand how we're getting to the future and what the future might hold. And in doing that, I got to be more present. So this is a real epiphany for me today. I wasn't expecting this. And you can I don't know if I can get across the magnitude of being in the now. And I really want to explore this. What is a now thing? And how do I engage in the now? Engaging in the now is different than learning from the past. Engaging in the now and in the present means connecting to people and understanding and synthesizing and taking an approach that helps me in the now. How do I do that? Right? What tools do I lean in on? I'm glad for our standardization on our um, audio and video, using Zoom. It's hard to be in the now, the right now, when I'm tripping over technology, right? So I can totally understand the need to use Zoom and empathize with that. So, there's a baby detangler on the left and kid detangler on the right, or just these two kids, right? And one is in his business suit, and the other one is not. And this is the feeling I get in the rear view moment. You know, when I look in the rear view versus the now versus the the forward. What does it mean to learn? What does it mean to learn? And this idea that learning happens, and both of to me, both of these kids are learning. They're both learning. The one on the left is learning what's already happened and reading the data. The effort of the one on the left is in knowing what happened and then kind of taking action based on that. The one on the right is like, what the hell just happened? Right? It's just happened now. What just happened now? Her, working it through is an understanding what happened in the why. So the what and the why. The one on the left is what, so that I can go act. There is no focus on the now. It's the past on the left. So learning the past versus learning the present is completely different. So what, to me, it's, what are my tangles on that? How do I learn the present? What does that look like? Well, to me, learning the past is asking, hey, what did I do before? What did we do before? What effort did we put in? What led us here? What do the numbers say? What can we infer based on what we know? What do we know? Tell me what we know. Tell me what we know. I need clarity on what we know. Tell us what we know. And it's super disruptive if people are learning in that mindset for others to show up and say, oh, okay, well, why are we doing what we're doing? I don't know if you've ever tried this, but in an operational mindset, lately, I've had some clients that are very much in learning from the past. And so I dropped this little question of like, why are we doing that? Holy cow, is that disruptive? It just gets people defensive. You just ask a question of why. It's just such a pattern interrupt. And then on the other side, the idea of learning in the present, it's asking, well, what just happened? You know, can we empathize with the situation? Can, we've talked about the team truck rolling down the road, and it falls off into the dirt. So what just happened? Can we empathize with that situation? Not necessarily how we got here and who made mistakes, but what is this situation? What did we do to understand that and emote and relate to it? And then what does the current experience tell us? The current experience, the now experience. What is it telling us? And what do we need to understand? And what's disruptive there is the how question, right? As Catalyst has pointed out, it's very disruptive when we're trying to learn in the present to somebody to jump in and say, well, how are we going to measure that? And that is so hardwired in sales enablement. It's just, oh, I get what you're saying, but how are we going to measure that? I get what we're saying, that we have to focus on this. How are you going to measure that? How are you going to measure that? It's just highly disruptive. So both of these are learning, but the learning in the present, to me, is very different, especially with regard to understanding experiences. And I think, to me, drawing that correlation to learning by doing. So the present, can you learn by doing, by being in the past? You can't, it's physically impossible. Hey, let's go learn by doing, by transporting ourselves until time travel happens. You can only learn by doing, by being in the now. It's in the now where the learning happens, because you're doing it now. You can't learn by doing in the future, and you can't learn by doing the past. It's learn by doing in the now. So what does that look like right now? How do I learn by doing in the now? And this was an interesting question for me. As you can tell, I'm trying to draw a distinction between the present and the now. So I'm just going to drop the future, because the future is made from the present. So if I just draw a wedge, or draw a space between the past and the now. And I say, okay, the now is a thing. Let's just focus on the now. Let me learn by doing in the now. What happens? What is that shift from moving from learning from the past to learning in the now? So I was working through that this morning. I don't know if these icons work. I didn't have tons of time on icons, but I wanted to make this visual. But there's to learn by doing, there's an alignment piece. I have to align. But what am I aligning to? And this is a big shift for me. It's from helping me understand to helping others get there. I do consider myself to have a service mentality. I want to serve others. I want to impact others. But because I was learning from the past, I got tripped into thinking that's valuable to help me understand. But the challenge with learning in the past is I get stuck in my head. The learning from the past gets me stuck in my head and isolates me. I have to learn by doing to help others in the now. That's a different alignment. That's a different perspective. So this is the one of the things that happens to me to learn by doing. And then where am I focusing on my condition and all my and what's happened again in the past to create this condition that I find myself in, or am I in the now, the right now, to look around the corner and to anticipate, skate to the puck, not with the purpose of staying in the future, but understanding that my actions today can create tomorrow. My actions today can create tomorrow. So how does that work? Well, again, it gets me out of my head. The recurring light bulb for me is learning from the past puts me inside my own head, and that is not good for a lot of reasons. The biggest reason when I think about that is it's really hard to be in an experience economy and drive an experience when you're in your own head. so dropping all the psychological reasons why it's bad. The idea of an experience economy, if I'm in my own head, how am I going to even do that? Right. So I got to get out of my head. So I got to get out of my head. This is my condition. This is my condition. This is my condition. I have to move to what am I doing today that's going to help tomorrow? And how do I focus on that and learn by doing that? The third thing is this idea of impact. If I'm in the past and I'm in my own head, I focus on contributions. And this has been a tough one. And Catalyst is unrelenting in this one, which is great because it really makes me think, and it's totally related. And last night we had an exchange about, Catalyst said, I think your detanglers are there's really good stuff in there. It's just that it's focused on contribution. And I'm like, And I asked him what he meant, and it's a long story. So maybe you can ask me about it. But this idea of moving to from contributing to connecting, that connecting to the world around me, connecting to the people around me, connecting to the current situation of the present. That's where impact comes from. Impact doesn't come from being in my own head, being in my own head, being in my own head. It does not come from being in my own head. It comes from connecting to those around me and to the world around me. That's the new impact. That's new to me. And again, to do something new, to get to where if I want to get somewhere new, I have to do something new in the present. Right. And that's the impact piece. I gotta get connected. And then where does innovation come from? Well, if I'm learning from the past, it's okay, here's what I know. Let me connect the dots and make a plan. And let me innovate that way and follow the quote unquote very, very, very structured, disciplined process. Not in our definition, but in the past definition of all this learning stuff, right? Of adult learning and all these other things. So let me make a plan and write it down, and I'm going to go do to people because I've learned from the past. I'm in my own head. I clearly have this structured in my head. Everybody else should know it. So let me go do that. Versus the learn by doing in the now. So if I say and have discipline that says everything from today from yesterday beyond doesn't matter. It's the now. How do I develop? I have to experiment. I have to try things, right? I had this as trying, but it's really about this idea, I think, of experimenting and experimenting with others in a structured way to reveal the innovation, right? That's a whole other thing. And then and the whole other thing is this learning in the past, for the now. So then to get momentum in the now, right? This is related to, if I'm learning in the past, I get stuck in the past and I get stuck in the mud, and I can't, I struggle to move forward because what am I doing? I'm in my own head, and I'm in my own head in the past, which is like an anchor or a prison. So if I'm going to be in the now and pull the anchor up and get out of the, here's what the past tells me, and here's my prison of the past. What is my path forward? How do I get momentum and traction on now? It moves from, here's what I'm going to tell you, and influencing based on telling, to exploring, to being curious, to um, sea sliding, right? This idea of sea slides to me becomes less of a tactic or an activity. To sea slides are a way to document what I'm exploring so that I can get momentum. So this is an example of a sea slide where I'm trying to build something and seeing something that draws a juxtaposition between learning in the past and learning in the now, visualizing the difference between learning in the past and learning in the now, and giving it a bit of an identity so that I can get momentum. I can print this out, I can show it, I can talk about it, and it helps me anchor in the now. And I already shared with you how tough the now is with, when I see a rear view mirror, I think it's the future. A rear view mirror is the rear view mirror. So that's what it means to learn by doing, not learn by doing from a past lens, which to me is the initial response I had. Learn by doing from what I've done. Learn by done. Learn by what I did. It's learn by doing in the now. And the now is critical. And I have to embrace the now, not say no to the now. And I've been saying no to the now. I got to stop it. I got to be in the now. There's a whole new world in the now. What is it? And if I think of percent, this is I'll lead with me. The amount of time I spent in the present versus the if I take the past and the future, and I think about the percent of time I spend being in either the past or in the future, it would probably be 99%. I spend all my time in either the past or the future, and it creates a lot of stuff that is for other detanglers. Go listen to the 80 other detanglers. A lot of that is because of that, a lot of those tangles. But there's, how do I become 99% in the now versus 99% in the past and the future? That's a real interesting question. So the principle that this reminds me of is, it's the experience, stupid. The now is about experience. And maybe this is why I've struggled to explain what an experience is, because I'm not in the now. How do I lean into it's the experience, stupid, more? Thanks for listening. This has been today's Daily Detangler, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Hopefully we have a special edition tomorrow. Look forward to your feedback. Take care.